What's up, all you doodles and doodlers out there, ye schemers and ye dreamers? Welcome back to Doodle Talk. This is episode 15. We're moving along, almost in our 20s. We're still a teen though, so can't get ahead of ourselves. Welcome back. Have a seat, come on in, get comfy. Today, it's not really not like a special episode, but I'm going to continue making a few changes. Like you may have noticed, like the overlay and everything was different from last episode. Which if you didn't see last episode, go check it out, because I think it's possibly one of the most more useful Doodle Talks I've made, where I went over kind of analog and digital and went into some of the stories of my art journey so far up until where I am now. And also check out the it should be out by the time this is out, another video where I made a pros and cons of the iPad Pro versus the XP Pen Artist 22 second generation 22-inch drawing display tablet that I got recently. And that one's more concise. The Doodle Talk is kind of me just going over talking about analog and digital stuff. The comparison video is very concise and goes over my pros and cons and which one I think is better for you if you're a digital artist or a beginning artist or anything like that. So please go check that video out. I think it's turning out pretty good, so I'm excited. That one will be good. And kind of speaking of videos and changes and stuff, so today I'm gonna continue making some changes for Doodle Talk, just to kind of try some stuff out, because they can get really long, and I've tried the whole point from the beginning was to make 15 to 30 minute little videos of me talking about art stuff with the animations and background loops and time lapses and stuff going on in the background. But it's surprisingly a lot easier for me to just keep talking about stuff for way longer. I'll create write enough notes and content for 20-30 minutes, and then once you get into it and you start talking about it, it goes on for 50 or longer, so I'm really like I said last time, I want to try and streamline some elements of this podcast so that I can continue making it and just making it easier for me to continually produce, because I have so many other ideas for videos and little series that I'm gonna start doing for Instagram and YouTube Shorts, Reels, YouTube Shorts, and stuff like that too. So I have a lot of other stuff I want to do, and I do not want to stop doing this podcast. But I'm going to try out a more bite-sized version. So these next few episodes are going to be within 10 to 15 minutes for each one. Strictly, I can't go over that. That's my rule. So we'll see how that goes. And in order to do that, I'm going to be kind of just changing some things. I'm not going to do the shout out of the day for a while. It could come back, but who knows. But I do want to do the kind of what's been up with me recently, keeping up with the Sam Dashians segment. So let's jump into that and let's get started, because we're gonna try and make this one less than 50 minutes today, All right. But yeah, so not too much going on with me recently, but it is Sakura season, the cherry blossom season in Japan. And so at first we were really worried, because I'm sure if you've never lived in Japan, you probably don't really realize this, but the sakura only bloom, really, it's a short window. Maybe you have 5 or 6 days where they're blooming, and then you get to the full bloom day. And essentially in between then, if it rains or if it's really windy conditions or anything, they can all just fall off, and it's ruined. It essentially kind of ruins the experience if you haven't been able to make it out there yet. And it's been warm recently, but then we had some rain come in, and it was they were all supposed to start blooming on the 16th, and we had rain 2 or 3 days in a row. And it ruined the schedule. They weren't blooming because they need the sunlight, and they need those warm, bright days. Otherwise, they won't fully bloom, even if it's past the date when they're supposed to. And we went out yesterday near a park, and or in a park near us, and there was 1 or 2 kind of blooming, but it wasn't that great. But I went out today, because luckily yesterday and today was pretty good weather. Today was warm. I went on a run earlier, and as I was running, there's this bridge area connected to that park where they had some awesome trees and some really nice like shots, some nice scenery. I took a ton of like video and photos and stuff. I'll put some up on the screen right here too. Yeah, because it's always super inspiring when the cherry blossoms are blooming and stuff, and I always get inspired to like make some art. I've already been making some, and it's just been really fun. But yeah, it's kind of tricky. It's hard to like time, because if you want to go do a hanami, like a picnic with your friends where you go watch the flowers and stuff, you really have a short window. And it's like normally if you can't take off on a weekday or something, then you're kind of just screwed, because it's like you have to get lucky, and if it blooms on the weekend, then you're good. But if it doesn't, you're totally screwed. And if it does bloom on a weekend, then it's like you're gonna be going to like a really, most likely, like a crowded place, especially if you're in Tokyo area and stuff like that. So it's not as picturesque as all the anime and like some of those probably videos from Japan that you've seen. Anytime you see like a really good, awesome, clear blue sky, like cherry blossom footage or something, like that's probably a luckier shot than you might have ever thought. So, but it makes you appreciate it. I mean, it's fleeting. I mean, that's super Japanese, right? Like a kind of like way of thinking of like, you know, the fleeting life, like a cherry blossom floating off of the tree and stuff like that. Yeah, it's awesome when you can see them. And that's about it. Yeah, shout out to the video that I mentioned earlier, so please go check that out. Have been doing some cool sakura art and stuff. Cherry blossoms are awesome. And let's jump into the main topic of today, which is something that was kind of happening to me recently, so I thought I'd just talk about it. It's kind of like getting out of art block or art slump, or just when you're having a shit art day. Like, what do you do? Because recently I haven't had an art block, but I've been kind of like really busy, and also just like kind of wanting to make too many things all at once. So it's been hard for me to like actually sit down and like keep making things. What is it like? It's kind of like the paralysis by I forgot the saying. There's something like that too, where it's like I know there's analysis paralysis, that's definitely true, but there's also like a paralysis by like having too many choices or too many things that you want to or can work on, which is something I struggle with. But I just thought of like some things that help me just kind of get out of a slump, or like when you have that day, right, where you like go sit down to draw, and it's like you feel like you're like, oh my god, I'm so stupid, like why can't I draw? Like I've drawn this a million times, like it's just not clicking, it's just not working. There are some like actionable things that you can do to kind of get yourself out of that, or at the very least, this is the most important thing to me, is like stay productive. Like if you're having a shit art day and you're like, dude, fuck it, I'm not drawing, I can't draw anything today. Like instead of just moping around, or like just letting that allow you to procrastinate even harder on things, there's a few things that I like to do. So I just want to kind of go over them. They're kind of like tips, I guess. But yeah, the first one is switch what you're working on. So like if you sit down to draw something and it's not working, just be like, okay, then today I'm gonna go edit a video, or I'm gonna go write a script, or I'm gonna go outline a video, or I'm gonna go storyboard something, because the storyboards don't have to be perfect, you know. You don't, even if you're drawing like shit, if you still have the composition and everything, you can make a storyboard work good. You can go just start brainstorming something else, instead of just like, you know, don't let your brain power go to waste while you're still you know, before you get tired, or before you go into like, oh, I'm finished with work, I'm at home, like I just want to like go play video games or something. Before you get into that mode, like while you're still kind of have the gears turning and stuff, you know, go brainstorm something else. Just you know, do stuff that is low pressure. So anything low pressure, like storyboarding, brainstorming, thinking of something to write. And this doesn't apply just to artists, this is for anyone, right? Musicians, or like if you're a writer, if you can't like sit down and put like the words on the page, maybe go to your outline, or like think of a new character or new title or something like that, right? And then the second one is do some research or look up references for something you're working on or something you want to work on. And this is probably even easier than like the low pressure work, right? Because this one's great because it has nothing to do with like actual drawing or creating, but it's still like an actionable thing that's gonna help you. It might be something that you even like needed to do or that you were gonna do after, and instead you kind of just bump it up. Because it's a good way to like stay productive, and especially if you don't have the luxury of just like completely stop working, right? Because not all of us have like art as our hobby or something like that, or like I kind of have other main work that I focus on, and then I'm doing art stuff on the side, and I put pressure on myself. But like, if a video doesn't get uploaded like exactly when it was supposed to, or if I don't finish an art piece when I wanted to, like I don't have an editor or a client that's like breathing down my neck or anything like that. So like I said, like this may be something that you needed to do anyways. So if it was like today I was going to draw and tomorrow I was going to look at references for this next project that I was doing, just switch those days, switch them around, and then hopefully you're not losing any ground, you're not losing any work there. And my favorite thing about this actually too is like when you are getting references and stuff like that, this may also give you the inspiration you were lacking and motivate you to get back and work on whatever thing you were working on, which is awesome. That actually happens to me a lot. I'll be looking for references and stuff, and like by the end of the time, like when I've collected all my resources and stuff, I've normally been like inspired to at least like, even if I was drawing like shit that day, I'll like sit down and doodle out like, oh, that gave me an idea for this character or this part of this thing or like this little animation that I want to make. And it's a very nice proactive like cycle that starts with that. Sometimes before I even start drawing or anything, I'll just go on Pinterest or like just look at some, even if it's not really like, I'm not like actively looking for references or something, I'll just be like, I haven't looked at some of these things in a while, and I'll look on Pinterest for something that I know normally gives me inspiration, and then it just adds on to that, and helps you get motivated. And then the last one, like I said, we're keeping this short. When all else fails, stop and come back rested. And this one is like, I don't know, I guess you can consider it a cop-out, but it's really important, right? Because if all else truly fails and you're just like, and this is if you're not under some kind of like deadline or a crunch, right? If you can, just leave it for the day and come back tomorrow or like the next day after that. Go on a run, clear your head, eat some good food, play that video game you wanted to play for a little bit, get some good rest. Most of the time you'll come back the next day and feel way better about it, and you'll be able to tackle it with a new energy and probably get it done in a shorter amount of time than you would have if you just sat there struggling all day and like kicking yourself, right? So sometimes you really just got to say like I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I'm just going to put it on pause. I'm going to go play a video game. And maybe even later that day you come back and you knock out 30-40 minutes of like what you wanted to work on, or like you work on that song you wanted to work on or something like that, right? The important thing here is that you're going to come back like refreshed and with a new energy. And this is also helping you avoid burnout and stuff like that. The reason I brought this up and was even thinking about it as a topic as well is because recently I normally work like 6 to 7 days a week, just on like translating, freelance stuff, other work, extra work outside of that, and then plus all on top of all that, I'm doing like all the art stuff and YouTube stuff that I want to do right in my free time. And normally, in order to do that, in order to make it enough money as a freelancer right now, I'm like working about 6 days a week, sometimes 7, and normally weekends are like half days and stuff. So it's not like I'm not working 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, but it's still a shit ton. And recently I've kind of been able to make a schedule for this past month and hopefully next month too, where I had a little bit more free time than usual. I was able to kind of like work things out, and yeah, I had a few extra days off that I normally wouldn't have in a day, and I've been able to take like a 3-day weekend where I normally wouldn't. And like even just last night I was sitting down and I had this inspiration to draw something. and I drew it, and it was just like natural. I like wanted to draw, because sometimes when you get tired or you get overworked and you get burnt out, even if you're not, if your day job is something else, you're not drawing all day, so you're not like burnt out from that, but you come home and maybe you don't want to draw or something like that, right? Like I just noticed like my body was like, hey, let's draw something. Like, oh, I had an idea, and like I immediately wanted to draw it, and it's like, because if you don't do this, you forget what it feels like to just like, because if you're forcing yourself all the time, you can still get great stuff done, and you kind of have to just force yourself a lot of the time, right? Like there's no getting around that. But if you can keep it that natural flow of like, oh, I feel rested and I feel energized, I'm ready to go, and now I can sit down and draw that thing or animate that thing that I've been wanting to, without just feeling like you're forcing yourself, that's a great place to be. And sometimes in order to get to that place, you really have to be hard on yourself and like force yourself to rest. Just take a couple extra hours out of a day that you weren't going to, and just rest, or work really hard on that Friday or that Thursday. If you get that 3-day weekend, then instead of just spacing it out over like 3 hours of work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes pushing hard earlier on in the week, or like just making sure you have that cleared Saturday, Sunday, or a 3-day block. 3 days are probably the best, because what I did is I took like 2 days of just like light drawing work and stuff like that, no like translating work or anything, and then by that 3rd day I was just like feeling naturally like energized and ready to work. So that one is also very important, and something like, just don't forget about that. Rest is just as important as pushing yourself and progressing and being better. And those are like the 3 kind of like tips, the ideas that I had that I thought of, and they're just a few tried and true methods that help me when I'm feeling like a loser, or just having a full-on art block, or just feeling like I can't draw that day. So I hope they help you too. And let me know if you get any other types of like art block, or if there's any other tips that you have, because if anyone's watching this and they found that helpful, I'm sure there's tons of people out there who have other tips, and I'd like to know too, because I'm always looking to try like new little tips and techniques to help me out with that kind of stuff. But yes, I've already gone over time here, and like I said, we're keeping this one short and sweet. So thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.